guys, Jay here. Welcome to Models Memories Weekly, episode 198. Models Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where we're talking about painting, modeling, and wargaming experiences from the week. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 videos a week. Ow! Could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week, Games Workshop showed off the new store birthday miniatures, and we got revealed the winners of what miniatures were the best of the best in 2024, and the results are interesting. Almost as interesting as the new terrain available at EonsOfBattle.com. EonsOfBattle.com is the best way to support us doing what we do with a membership. Each month, members will get 1 credit they can use on our new monthly terrain packs or any previous pack we have ever made. For the month of January, we made The Fall, Part 2, Guns. Big guns. This set focuses on printable high-caliber ordnance ready to rock a battlefield. This set features the enormous battle cannon, a building-sized gun encased in a Gothic shrine for sending 100-pound shells into orbit, the sun cannon, an energy turret for throwing hot balls of glowing energy across the landscape, and the humble field artillery for mopping up what's left. This set perfectly complements the Fall buildings and is the second of 3 sets focused on getting a proper 40k board up and running as easily as possible. Good Old Games Workshop has shown off the new Warhammer Store birthday miniatures. These are some fun commemorative miniatures they do every single year. I often buy them just because there's usually something a little bit interesting going on. I've actually been working on one. This is a little Space Marine captain that I think was the store birthday model from 2022, I want to say. But the big thing I got done on this guy is I was working on his cape. And capes are interesting because like when you look at the box art or like some really fun Instagram stuff, you see people do these amazing freehands. And I'm never quite brave enough to do it. Sometimes I'll paint a stripe along the bottom because that's pretty easy to do. And I painted a stripe along the bottom, but then I thought I should really try to do a little something extra. And so I painted little spikes that go along the little trim decorative parts. And I like how the little spikes turned out. I would love to get like a Templar cross, a golden Templar cross in the center, but his cape, it's a big triangle and it's so wrinkly that I feel like it'd be really hard to paint that. I was thinking about maybe trying to put a decal on there and then paint on top of the decal because the decal could maybe conform to the wrinkles of the cape, but I don't know. I feel like I did such a good job on the spikes that I think I'm gonna leave this guy alone, and I'm gonna try to do something a little extra fancy on the next cape I come across. But this guy is turning out really fun, and he's basically just a normal captain, but just a little bit more interesting. He's got the plasma pistol, the power fist. I added this little glowy lantern. But the store birthday models are really fun. I actually bought I bought a lot of store birthday models, but another store birthday model I got years ago was this chaplain. This chaplain was one of the first minis that I tried really hard on, and I like how he turns out. He was definitely one of my earliest tries with non-metallic metal, and it shows. I think some things are really good, like his Crozius, but some things like his legs are kind of chromey reflective. This was back when I was doing chaplains and I was trying not to use a lot of gold on them, which was a little bit of a bad idea because chaplains wear black armor, and so black armor with silver trim and then like silver accents doesn't leave a lot of excitement. But I'm pretty happy with this guy, and this is so much better than the new Chaplain and Terminator armor. Like he's just dripping with stuff. And there was a weird other store birthday model that was this exact figure, just smaller. This was a weird medium ground between the old Terminators and the new big Leviathan Terminators. And so this guy, he's a little bit fuller, and so the decorations that hang on him hang a little bit more correctly. There was another store birthday chaplain that was this guy that he was just way smaller, and so all of these decorations, like, they filled him up way too much. I really like this guy. And I have another store birthday model. I didn't have a good reason for buying this model when I bought it, but now I do because I'm collecting a Kroot army, and it is the Tau Ethereal Lady. And it's just a really interesting alt sculpt for the Ethereal model. And honestly, this should be the real sculpt for the Ethereal because the current Ethereal, it is a plastic mini, but it's one of the oldest plastic minis, and so it's really rough looking. So it's a little bit too bad that you can buy like the 20-year-old Ethereal sculpt, or you can buy the really nice modern new Ethereal. And now we've got some new birthday models. We've got the Biosigns Terminated, which is a lovely little gene stealer killing a Terminator, a Blood Angels Terminator. Clearly this is inspired by one of the greatest things of all time, Space Hulk. I think it's a really, really nice miniature. The posing is really nice, the storytelling is really nice. It's a fun like diorama piece, but there's not a really big incentive to buy this. I can't imagine anybody's gonna get a box of gene stealers and then buy this guy for like 35 or 40 bones, and then swap it in as just a normal gene stealer. Maybe Necromunda players. I mean, there's not a great reason for a suit of Terminator armor to be on Necromunda, but I think this would make a really, really good like Malstrain gene stealer or something. I think this model has a little something going for it. It's just a cool mini. Not as cool as all of those other miniatures that I showed off, because those are alt sculpts of actual characters, the kind of the hero units of 40K, and so they feel a little extra special. They're not a rank and file. And speaking of rank and file, we've got Estena of Brighthall, which is a Stormcast Eternal Vigilator, or one of the normal ones. The pose is pretty good. I could see using this sculpt for something else, like an Inquisitor that's just like really running down the hall, trying to get some work done. The spear and the sword and the normalness of this figure, I don't know. It's doing kind of the fun thing that Games Workshop does with characters throwing spears, because usually that spear is tucked right up against your face, because you're kind of trying to eyeball where that spear is gonna go, or the javelin or whatever it is, where you don't want the spear to literally be in front of your miniature's face, so you kind of cheat it out a little bit, but then it kind of looks like she's not doing a great job of throwing the spear. It's okay. It reminds me, last year there was a Kroot that was doing a little jump, and there was that really cool crow guy for the Cities of Sigmar. That model was actually sick. It seems like usually we get one model that's really, really cool, and one model that's kind of a little bit of a head scratcher. Like, was this really, was this knocking the sculptor's socks off, or was it just we accidentally have one Vigilator sculpt that we didn't end up putting in the box, and so we're gonna have another one made? I don't know. It's just okay. And like these are totally, you don't need to buy them. There's no real reason for them to exist other than to build a little bit of hype and intrigue, and for people who manage to get a model that fits really nicely with their army. They get a little special story, a piece with provenance that they can have in their collection. And I honestly think Games Workshop should go harder into that. I think it's just neat. Like games like Malifaux, they have all sorts of alt sculpts for characters, and Malifaux is a game of characters, so it's really easy to do that. No matter what miniature they decide to sculpt, it's like, I really do want another Nikema, Mother of Nightmares. Like anything that they just grab for Malifaux is gonna make for a really, really cool miniature. They also occasionally do themed releases, so they'll take an entire crew of guys, and then they'll kind of reimagine them as a Halloween inspired faction, or they'll reimagine them as a puppet style faction, and it ends up being really, really interesting. Where 40K just feels a little bit more random, like a Gene Stealer and a normal Stormcast Eternal. It doesn't feel as interesting or as necessary, but like if they just had a bunch of random characters that were kind of re-sculpted and maybe make those made to order every now and again, I think that would be pretty neat. But as it stands, I don't know if I'm going to be hitting up my local store for their birthday and getting either of these models. They're okay. The Gene Stealer is cool. Like if you're doing a diorama for some reason based around like Space Hulk, this would be a fantastic miniature for that. But otherwise, it's just a really, really expensive Gene Stealer. And Gene Stealers are already really expensive, so But speaking of the general feeling of Games Workshop showed off what miniatures won Model of the Year this year. This is always really interesting. Usually it's pretty obvious to know which one's gonna win. I mean, Be'lakor, Angry Ron, like whatever the giant, beautiful centerpiece miniature that came out this year was, usually those tend to win. But this year there wasn't as much for 40K. I was thinking maybe some of the Kroot stuff, maybe some of the Dark Angel stuff. That's kinda it. Not a whole lot of miniatures came out for Warhammer 40K this year. And I was utterly shocked. And you guys will have to let me know in the comments, did you vote for the Night Lord's kill team? because that won. That is the best miniature Games Workshop made according to the fans in 2024. And like, it's fine. They're neat. It's an upgrade sprue for the normal Chaos Space Marine kit. And you get like some bat-eared guys and some fleshy bits and a knife with some blood dripping off of it. I don't know. It's really bizarre to me that this won first place. Like, I was starting to think, like, is this the default option if you fill out the form wrong? Like, is this alphabetically first or last, or for some reason, like, this one gets auto-selected? Because it's hard to believe that this is Jimmy and everyone's jams or Flim and everyone's flams. It's neat, it's cool, but I don't know, Vespid came out this year. The Aquilon Drop guys came out this year. Did anything else come out for Killer Team? The Votann guys with the big jackets and the revolver shotguns came out. Like, I feel like there was a lot of new Mandrakes. I feel like there was a lot of really interesting brand spanking new stuff that came out. An upgrade sprue for normal Chaos Space Marines doesn't feel like the hardest hitting miniature that came out all year, but I guess I'm wrong. The runners up in second place was the two little hobbit fellas that are getting ready to do some sniping and having a lovely little Thanksgiving meal. In third place, we got the Inner Circle Companions for the Dark Angels. Beautiful miniatures. I'm probably gonna be buying a few of these to use as Black Templar Sword Brethren. They're really, really nice miniatures. I love the flowing capes and the spooky hoods and the giant brick of a banner this one guy's got. Those guys make a lot of sense to me. Honestly, I feel like they could be first place. I do get that there was no big, like, boom, Bellacore. There was no, like, obvious choice, but they're fine. They're fine. Then in fourth place, I feel like you stop at third, but in fourth place, apparently it is the Celestian Saint Averline, which is a very, very nice centerpiece miniature. Honestly, this is the sort of thing that I think would work really nicely as a store birthday model or a commemorative series model, which I think is what it was. No, it was based on a book. So this is a character from a book, and then they recreated it in plastic, and they did give it rules that I think are actually kind of good. But yeah, that model is beautiful. I love that the fire coming off of her power sword is in the fleur-de-lis. I like the little cherubs that are carrying the promethium for her hand flamer. And then the other ones just got like a little jar of something. But I love a good cherub. The cherubs are so cute and so funny. But yeah, that model is great. And then in fifth place, we got Asmodai, Master of Repentance. This guy is based straight off of some old school Warhammer 40,000 artwork. Honestly, I could see this guy being first too, because it's really, really 40K. Like maybe more 40K than the two Hobbit guys hiding behind a little piece of rubble. But yeah, he's just a badass model with the smoke billowing out of him and the giant halo around his head and the Crozius Arcanum and the little shackles hanging off of his belt buckle. It's just a really, really nice miniature that is in fifth place. I don't know, it was a weird year for 40K. Age of Sigmar makes much more sense. In first place for Age of Sigmar, we got Usharan, Mortarch of Delusion. This model is unbelievable. It is an unbelievably good looking model. It's hard to believe this is plastic. It looks a lot more like forge rolled, like resin. It's beautiful. It's the way that his cloak like is pooling on the base, the beautiful sculpted base in general, the bangles around his wrists and how they just like are they make his wrist look so sickly and weak and they're just hanging there. It's a really ridiculously nice looking miniature. I think the only spot where you can really tell it's a plastic fig is in the hair, because how do you make hair? It's impossible to make hair really even in resin or plastic, but at least in resin you can get the fidelity and the sharpness of each hair a little bit pointier. Where plastic, there is that roundness to it, but I feel like the paint job they gave him saves it a lot. This model is incredible. And then the runners up are all very similar. Vizek Score, the Prophet of the Horned Rat. This model is unbelievably cool and really, really gross and misshapen. We've got Abraxia, Spear of the Everchosen. Her spear is very, very important. I remember on the Twitch live when they showed off this miniature, they kept talking about the spear. But yeah, just a really cool giant lady on a giant dragon-y thing. And then we got Grumbadale, the White Dwarf. Oh, they have a bunch of these at my local store. And I do have a dwarf army for Old World. I'm like this close to buying it every single time I go in. I already have a dwarf character leader guy, but he is pretty neat. And then we just got the newest model that came for Age of Sigmar, Chaos Sorcerer Lord. He's cool. I think he probably ended up here because he's like came out the week before this list went live. So he's just fresh in everyone's memory. But yeah, Age of Sigmar makes a lot of sense. Got some ridiculously cool miniatures. 40K? I don't know. We'll see what 2025 brings. I feel like there was nothing super hard hitting for last year. There's nothing. I don't know. I probably would have given it to the Kroot Rampagers. Those guys are really, really cool. Although maybe my impression of them has been colored a little bit because I've actually been playing with them in Tabletop Simulator and they hit like an absolute truck. I love the Kroot Rampagers, but the Kroot stuff is just cool. And I can't wait. I'm hoping now that I'm getting a little bit into the Krootsies, I'm kind of hoping that they do come out one day with the Great Narlock and the Krootox Riders, the proper Krootox Riders or the Narlock Riders from those models were so great. And then they were discontinued on Forge World like 11 years ago, but I would love to see them return. And I bet they do. I mean, like the Krootox, the Great Narlock is like one of the poster childs for Dawn of War. Anybody who's played Dawn of War knows how upsetting it is when a Narlock wanders into your base and it's like, this is gonna take like a full minute of my entire army bombarding it before this thing goes down. And it's probably gonna take out my troop center, so I need to get my workers building another one of those. And I probably should just restart the game because things are not working out if a Krootox walked into my base. But yeah, I just can't wait for some more Krootsy stuff to come out. That would have been a great model of the year. A gigantic Kroot dinosaur. That would be super 40K. But no, it was Night Lord's kill team. I mean, that one guy had a chainsword. That's neat. Pretty good. I don't know. But please do let me know what you think of the winners of the 2024 model of the year. Was it Night Lords? Am I really poo-pooing? I mean, I like Night Lords. I read the Night Lords trilogy. They're very, very good books. Night Lords are very hard to paint. I've tried to do it a couple of times. I'll probably try to do it again because I have a new idea. I kind of want to go dark with their primary colors and then try to focus on the lightning because I feel like the lightning is the hardest element, but the most Night Lords-y element on them. And so I do want to give them another try. Games Workshop they did paint the lightning on, but just in a couple of spots. And that's the tricky thing with Chaos Space Marines. They're so busy already. It's hard to get that lightning element to work across the minis. Else, what is the lightning? I read the Night Lords book and they just have like ramshackle armor that they've stolen off of dead guys. It doesn't seem like they have a thing going on so much as they're just struggling. The struggle is real for Night Lords. It's a rough warband. But speaking of warbands, I got to get back to painting and playing some games. 2025 is looking really, really exciting. We got some really, really big stuff coming this year. The end of 2024 was a nightmare of trying to get things done, and like a couple of weird opportunities just fell into our laps and we had to take advantage of it. But we got some stuff. Thanks for watching.